Go for our third paper of paper session 1. So I'd like to introduce Lilly Winfree of the Open Knowledge Foundation, and she'll be presenting lessons from Frictionless Data for Reproducible Research Fellows Program. So go right ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm really excited to talk to you today, and I'm going to try and answer questions as they come in if you have them. So I'm going to try and have the questions tab open, but also I'm going to hopefully have time at the end to answer your questions. As our previous speakers have said, this is going to go quickly, so let's go ahead and dive into it. So I am part of the Frictionless Data for Reproducible Research project, which is at the Open Knowledge Foundation. And today I'll be telling you about our Fellows program. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the lessons that we learned during it and who the fellows are. The outline today, I'm going to tell you about Frictionless Data, which is our project, just give you a brief overview. Then we'll talk about why we wanted to do a Fellows program, who we wanted to work with, and we'll get a little detail about some of the fellows, how the program was created. So we'll talk about the syllabus, meetings, and some virtual learning tips, talk about some outcomes, some challenges and wins, and then take home lessons. All right, so first of all, frictionless data, that's what our project's called. But what are some frictions in research data? What does this word friction mean? And I like to think of it by answering some of these questions, like, what does the column name in this data set mean? How was this analysis done? Who created this data? And things like checking the data quality. Overall, these are issues or frictions with data that make that data difficult to use. And frequently, these are thought of as like the data cleaning steps. So the inspiration behind this project was really frustration with working with messy data. This project is open source. Everything we do is open, and it is a set of specifications for data and metadata interoperability, a collection of open source software libraries and tools, and it's a range of best practices for data management. It's also platform agnostic, meaning that it can be really interoperable. So this project really focuses on asking, how can researchers use frictionless data tooling to make their data more open, more shareable, and more reproducible overall? And this is the whole intro I'm going to give you about these tools, since this isn't the point of this talk, but I included the link to our website below where you can learn more, and I'd be happy to tell you any more technical details if anybody's curious. Okay, so this project, the Frictionless Data for Reproducible Research project, is funded by the Sloan Foundation and overseen by the Open Knowledge Foundation. And we have 3 different ways that we work with researchers. The first are pilots, and these are intensive hands-on collaborations where we work with a researcher group to help solve a data management issue that they might be having. The second way that we work with researchers is with the tool fund. And our tool fund are small grants that we give to developers to create new open science tooling that's based on the open frictionless code. And then the third way we collaborate are with fellows. And our fellows are what I'm going to tell you about today, but it's where we're working with early career researchers to train them in open science, data management, and to use the frictionless tools to really become advocates for reproducible research. So let's dive in more to what the Fellows Program is. So why did we want to do a Fellows Program? Well, first of all, we had funding for it. So thank you, Sloan, for that. But really, we wanted to reach a different group of people than we were reaching in our other types of collaborations. We really wanted to focus on early career researchers. This also gave us an opportunity to explore, teach, and train users as opposed to just implementing our tooling. And we're really passionate about creating advocates for open science and also for our frictionless data tools. And it allowed us to build upon some existing data literacy trainings that we already had, such as the School of Data. Okay, our major goals for this, first of all, to teach people about open science principles. And mainly we did that by focusing on learning. So learning is a major goal here. And we have all of the fellows learn about open science, data management, and our frictionless tools. So it's partially technical learning and also partially non-technical learning. The fellows also write a lot of blogs and they present. That was another major goal that we had. So the fellows write several blogs about what they're learning and also about topics that are relevant. So for instance, they write a blog during Open Access Week. And then they present workshops and talks. And that got a little bit messed up when COVID hit. We had to reschedule all of our in-person workshops to being virtual, which actually turned out totally fine. But one of my lessons that I'll tell you about through this is to be flexible. Our other goal is that we're working to create advocates, for open science generally, reproducible research, and of course our tooling. And then we're working to build community. So we wanted to bring these fellows into our existing community, but we also want them to help us reach out to their networks to build community. Importantly, this project or this fellowship is not project-based. And I want to mention that because other fellowships sometimes are project-based. And if you are interested in creating a fellows program, then it's something that you should think about. And so project-based would be like where the fellows show up with a project that they already have that they need help completing or finishing. So that's not what we focused on. We focused on learning. So the next thing to think about is who we wanted to work with. And we focused on early career researchers, mainly because they're the future. So we focused on graduate students, postdocs, and early career PIs, but we also focused on people in research adjacent roles like research librarians or policymakers. We wanted to work with people that have data, and we were not that careful about being domain specific or field specific. We just wanted to make sure that the fellows have data that they can use because this is a data intensive fellowship. We wanted people to have some experience with programming, but they don't have to be experts at all. And most importantly, we wanted people that are passionate about open science. And if you are creating a program, I recommend that you really think about this question, who do you want to work with? And that will help you when you're building your syllabus. Okay, so I want to show you a few of our fellows. We have had 2 cohorts of fellows so far, and we've had 12 fellows. The first round we had 4, and the second cohort we've had 8. So if you're curious, I can tell you more about why we decided to double our number of fellows. I'll give you a brief overview and show you how our fellows are around the world. They're at different career stages and they have different backgrounds, which makes it a really interesting group of people. So first we have Owusu, who is a graduate student in Kenya, and he's studying molecular biology. Monica is in Canada, and she is a policy analyst, and her background is in ecology. Katerina is in Greece, and she is a graduate student that is working as an intersection of language, cognition, and music. And then Daniel is a postdoc in Spain who is a neuroscientist. So it just gives you a brief overview of the variety of people we're working with. Okay, I'm going to get into our program creation. So when we created our syllabus, these are the questions that we really thought about. And on the left, I'm showing you a picture of our website that has our syllabus. And we built our website using GitHub pages, which is important because we can use GitHub as a tool, like a training tool for our fellows. And they have this website where they can make changes. So when you're thinking about your syllabus, think about what are the major goals you want the students to learn, how long will those goals take, and then probably multiply that by 2. Think about when there will be breaks or holidays. If you have people around the world, think of non-US holidays as well. And they're students, so they probably need breaks for classes or exams. I really encourage you to try and use existing open materials. our website, everything we do is open, so please use it if you would like to use it. And then I also suggest having multiple formats for lessons, so like videos and text for people that learn different ways. And then I'll tell you a little bit about learnings from our meetings and virtual learning environment. Everything we've done has been virtual. And so we have meetings. I meet with them every week, which is kind of a big time commitment, but I think it's really important. So we meet in a group 1 week, and then the next week I meet with them one-on-one. And the group meetings are a chance to build community, which is important for online learning. And the one-on-one meetings are a chance to really get into questions or really help the fellows that are struggling. For our meetings, we also use note taking. And so I stole this note taking style from Emmy Sang and the eLife Innovation Leaders, and I love it. So if you want it, I can give it to you or connect you with Emmy. But it includes like written check-ins that incorporate some icebreaker questions like, is your workplace neat or messy? And these help build community, but they also help because they provide people something to do at the beginning of a meeting before the rest of the people show up. So I really encourage having like good notes for your meetings. The other thing I encourage is a code of conduct. This sets the tone for the meetings, but also the entire fellows program, and lets people know like we're here to learn and we're here to be respectful and to have fun. And then the other thing I encourage is another like community building in virtual sessions, which is to add, we use Slack, which is what I'm showing you here. We use Slack for chatting, but we also use it for more icebreaker questions. So here, every Monday, I ask them a silly question, like what sport would you compete in if you're in the Olympics? And then they answer, and this helps build our community. Okay, briefly show you some of our outcomes. The fellows have written lots of interesting things, and we have lots of interesting discussions, and I try to keep track of them somewhat. So we have open science discussions like, what does open access mean to you? Then they also write blogs. For instance, this is our Open Access Week blog, where each of them has written their answers to what does open access mean. They also write tutorial blogs, which is a good skill for them to learn, but it's also useful for us because then we have these nice tutorials. And then they have workshops. And this is a screenshot from when the fellows did their virtual workshop in May, which was supposed to be in person, but changed to virtual. Okay, briefly go over some challenges and wins. Challenges that you might consider is taking fellows that have varying background knowledge. And I actually think it's really awesome to have people with varying background knowledge. It can be difficult to set, like to teach everybody if they come in with different background, but it provides great opportunities to learn from each other. COVID, obviously a challenge everybody had. Imposter syndrome was really big for us, and we actually spent an entire week talking about imposter syndrome and ways to get over that, and that really helped us with learning mindset. The other thing is that I am the only mentor that works with them, and other programs have multiple mentors, which I think is great. So that's my other thought. If you're thinking about setting something up like this, think about if you want to have more than one mentor. Okay, I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to do my take-home lessons quickly. Take-home lessons: be flexible and build in catch-up times and breaks for people. I can't stress this enough. Be flexible, be compassionate. Focus on only a few goals. You can't teach them everything. Decide if you want to do project-based or learning-based. Pay people for their time. I really believe in paying people for their time. So if you can write this into your funding or grants, I encourage it. Think about diversity and inclusion. My favorite thing about these programs is that I get to talk to people from around the world that have different backgrounds, and their thoughts are so interesting. Which goes to the next point. Early career researchers are the future. Listen to them. And don't reinvent the wheel. Use existing resources. Have a code of conduct. Existing resources you can look at. I want to highlight the Open Life Science cohort. They are recruiting right now, and they're great. And then thank you. I'll leave you with a bunch of links. Again, the links to the slides that you can look at. Okay, questions.
Thank you so much, Lily. I know you're looking at the questions, so I can stay quiet since you can do them yourself.
Sure. Okay, I'll read them off then. Having fellows having their own data, were there minimum or maximum data set size or complexity requirements? Great question, and the answer is no. And partially because I tried to not have a lot of requirements for certain things. Also because our tooling does not have any requirements. It has been interesting though, because one of our current fellows is working with genetics data, and like she has this phyloseq object that, like, I'm a neuroscientist, so I know a tiny bit, but not a lot. And her and I have been having a lot of like really intensive data discussions about what this object is. So it has led to some interesting challenges by not limiting that. Okay, next question. Could you talk about the kinds of content that you have offered within your program? Yes, and I'm going to encourage you to look at our syllabus. Let's see if I can put in a link to that. Okay, I'll put it in the chat in a minute. Our syllabus shows everything we've talked about, and I do try to reuse material when I can. So we talk about, things like writing a data management plan, and we talk about open access, and also about just open science principles in general. And we've done some journal clubs. We've done some preprint journal clubs, which has been really fun as well. And one of the best resources out there that I recommend is the Turing Way. So the Turing Way it's like an online book all about open science and reproducible research. Okay, what is the expected time commitment for fellows? They are expected to work 6 to 8 hours a week. And we talk about that at the beginning, and we're very upfront about that. And I tell them that if they are finding themselves working more than 6 to 8 hours a week, to let me know, because I don't want to overwhelm them, because they are, mostly students or have another job.
Great. We started a couple minutes late, so if folks have other questions, feel free to pop them in. I was curious how you recruit fellows.
That's good. Good question. So we use our existing network, like tweeting and stuff like that. And trying to think what else we did. I'd email groups of people that I know and ask them to send it out, like to their library or to their graduate students, that mainly using our existing network like Twitter and Slack. Okay, I have another question. Do you see 8 fellows as the maximum number for one mentor? I would say yes. I was a little worried about going from 4 to 8, but it's been fine. It's actually been awesome because we have, 8 voices that have different backgrounds, and the conversations we have are just fascinating listening to their thoughts and opinions. So I like the number 8. I do think that if I was going to build this over again, that I would try and have more mentors.
Okay, well, thank you again, Lily, and thanks for sharing all of your resource links. So people are certainly welcome to follow up with Lily individually, but also we're going into a break right now. So if you want to corner her at one of the tables and chat with her right now, you probably can. So we'll go back into the lobby and give you a chance to meet with other attendees or maybe take a little break yourselves. And then our next session is the panel in about a half an hour. So see you there.